I'm Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories. Today, my guest is celebrity nutritionist and author Elissa Goodman. Elissa, so great to be with you and hear your story. So let's start off with where
so good to see you. We go way back.
Right.
We do.
Yes.
So it's so fun to be able to come back around and see you again and be on the couch with you.
Yes. So tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Arizona, but I didn't stay in Arizona. So it was a little too slow, a little too, just mellow for me.
What part of Arizona?
Phoenix, Arizona. And I moved to New York after I graduated college.
Tell me a little bit about childhood, school. Did you like school?
I loved school. I absolutely loved. I was very academic. I was into sports, so I played everything. Tennis, badminton. Actually, we won the badminton championship growing up. I played soccer. I played softball. I danced. I mean, there wasn't anything that my mom didn't have me involved in. She really pushed me to be out there and experience everything I could. But it wasn't an easy childhood.
In what way was it challenging?
My parents were very type A, and type A can be good, but their type A was, you never could sit down and relax, and you always had to be doing something, and it always had to be perfect. And that was the challenging part, was always trying to measure up to the perfection level of what they thought was perfect was a pretty high standard.
So did you have any tools back then in your childhood? How did you navigate through that?
That's the greatest question. I didn't navigate through it so well because I ended up getting sick all the time. And sometimes I think I made myself sick so that I could have an excuse to slow down.
So psychosomatic?
Yep, absolutely.
What sort of symptoms did you get back then?
I had stomach issues like crazy, digestion. I mean, to the point where it's like one of those things where I know when you don't go to the bathroom for days, it's the most horrible feeling. I know people who, have gone through that. It's terrible for days and days because you're so stressed out. You're holding everything in your gut. I had sinus issues. I had headaches. I got mono. I had chicken pox. I, was constantly getting flu or viruses or strep throat, or there wasn't really anything that I didn't get health-wise.
And back then, were your family healthy eating? What was that like?
My mom took sugar out of the house at a very early age. So no soda, no candy. And what it did was it just made me want it more. So when I'd go to friends' houses and there were no chips, there wasn't anything processed. So she even made homemade pizza and pasta, which was fabulous, So maybe I got a little of my health roots from my mom, but when she took all of that stuff out of the house at an early age, when I was basically in grade school, I of course craved it, and when I went to friends' houses, I couldn't get enough, or when I went out with people. And as I got older too, it continued.
And as a child, did you know what you wanted to do in your life later on?
I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that what was really great, Joanna, was that in those days, I spent a lot of time by myself as well. We didn't have telephones or computers, right? I rode horses as well. I showed horses. So in Arizona, I'd ride up into the mountains by myself for hours on end. And even when it was 100 degrees out, bareback with, bathing suit top on and cutoffs. I remember those being really beautiful times. And even with flip-flops on a horse. But I remember that I knew life could be more freeing, and I needed to get away from this environment that I was living, that sort of rigid, strict environment. And I knew that once I got away from it, I could be creative and really do something really big with my life, but I didn't know exactly what that was going to be.
So at what point did you make the decision to leave Arizona? How did that come about?
After I graduated college, I stayed in Arizona for college. And after that, I knew that just an intuition feeling, a very strong intuition feeling, felt like these weren't my people here. I hadn't found my people or my tribe, and I needed to get out and explore the world. And Phoenix felt, and Arizona felt just really kind of suffocating to me. So the minute I graduated, I was like, I'm moving to New York.
What did you graduate in?
Marketing, advertising. So I moved to New York and really did not know a single soul, and got a job in the marketing advertising business. And then my life changed forever.
So how did you get that job?
It was actually through the help of my parents. So, I mean, they, you know, along the way, they did help and guide me, and I love them for that. And they did make me who I am today, because I know I'm incredibly motivated and driven, but still that perfectionism and the part where I can't relax hinders me.
So you say your life changed forever when you moved to New York. What was that turning point for you?
It just felt like freedom. Like, it felt so great not to know anybody where I was moving to. And my dad had been very notable in Arizona because he loved Arizona with all his heart, and he gave back to it in a philanthropic way, huge philanthropic way. So people knew who he was. And so everywhere I went, I felt like it's, you know, Carl Eller's daughter. It wasn't Elissa, it was Carl Eller's daughter. So I never had the identity of just being me. So that feeling of being able to build my own identity somewhere else was magical, even though it was hard.
So you worked in marketing, advertising, on, I imagine, numerous campaigns?
Yes. It was more selling television time for television stations across the country. So I worked with, you know, automotive companies, beauty companies, you know, even just houseware company, everything across the board. That was what was exciting. I kind of knew what was going on in all these different industries. So I did that in television for years, and then I switched over to magazine sales. And
it's very fast paced.
It's very fast paced.
So what did you typically do for food back then in a very fast paced, long hours?
Didn't eat so well. It was a lot of caffeine. It was a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar to keep my energy up. Definitely alcohol was involved because we had to do a ton of entertaining because we were selling and marketing. So I wasn't very healthy in New York. And plus, as I had said, when I was a kid, I wasn't so healthy. So moving to a city where it was very fast paced, and I wasn't eating very well and taking care of myself, and the stress was pretty enormous. And the weather on top of it was also really cold, and I wasn't used to that. So I was sick a lot.
So sickness from childhood, sickness in adulthood.
Yes.
What point, I mean, what happened from there where you got really sick? Could you share a little bit more about that?
Well, I had met my husband and got married. And I said to my husband, he was from Queens, you know, we're going to move west. And he was like, to New Jersey? I'm like, no, we're going to move west to California. And he had never been to California. He had never seen the Pacific Ocean. But I said, you know, I need a slower life. I need to slow down, and I need better weather, and I need more space because, as you know, New York feels very compacted. And the energy in New York is intense, but I did thrive on it for quite a long time. But so we moved to LA. And we did slow down. And at that time, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer that was an early stage, thank God. But that was my huge wake-up call.
When you got that diagnosis, what went through your mind?
I was terrified. When you hear cancer, you think you're going to die. You think potentially you could die. So I was terrified. I hadn't had kids yet. You know, we were newly married. I just thought, wow, you know, is this really where my life is going to end? So it was quite terrifying. But once I really took some time to get back in touch with my intuition, and some of my spiritual guides, which I didn't know were spiritual guides at that time, were saying, you can make it through this. You can make it through anything. Like, this is...
Was that your own voice inside your head, or a feeling?
My own voice. Because I always had that voice as a young person when I was horseback riding. I was like, life could be better, and I could have more freedom, and I could be who I am, who I want to be, Elissa, not who someone else wants me to be. I always felt like. So that was that same voice saying, you know what? this is a part of your journey. You're going to get through this, but you're going to have to get your shit together.
So after you were given the diagnosis, there was a suggested treatment.
Yes.
What was that suggested treatment? And then what did you decide to do?
The suggested treatment was chemo and radiation. And it was an early stage, so it felt a little aggressive, but in those days, it was 25 years ago, people were a little, like, there weren't all the alternatives that there are today. And there weren't a lot of holistic methods out there that were really known. So I ended up not doing chemo, and I did half the radiation in a nutshell. My oncologist was not happy with me, so I had to find a new person to help me just do the radiation, because he was worried, God forbid, something would happen to me, then he was liable. So I took my health back into my own hands and did half the radiation. And then LA was so great. There was juice places, Mrs. Gooch's at the time, which is Whole Foods. I just started sort of devouring what LA had to offer in terms of health and wellness, and I healed.
How did people respond to you who were close to you when you decided not to do the chemo, not to follow the doctor's orders?
They totally freaked out. They were like, what the heck are you doing? Doctors know best, not you. You don't have any training in this. But I just really tried to block them out and said to myself, my gut instincts, my intuition, everything about what was happening was telling me I wanted to have kids. I didn't want to have other illnesses down the road. And I was worried with the chemo and the full-on radiation. It was going to do something to my body. And my immune system wasn't strong. I wasn't a healthy person throughout these years. So I knew this was just going to set me back, and I needed to move forward.
So you entirely healed yourself of the cancer?
Yes.
And how long did that take?
It took probably about 2 years. And then I went on to have 2 girls, healthy girls. And
what are your daughters' names?
Jordan is my older one, and Samantha is my younger one. They're 20 and 23 today.
Amazing.
Yes.
And then from there, so at that point, were you still working in advertising and the sales side of things in TV in California? What happened next?
I was when I was diagnosed, and I was working for Vogue magazine, which I thought was amazing in my head, not amazing in my heart. So when I got diagnosed, I ended up leaving there, which was the best gift for me, because it wasn't the right place for me, because the actual expectations of that magazine, which rightfully so, because it's such a big magazine and well known, were way too high for me. It was the same thing that I had been living all my life. So I went on to not work for a little while as I went through the radiation. And then I did go back to work for a slower pace magazine, which I actually ran the office out in the West Coast, which was really fun because it was in my own time and I could work from home and have the flexibility. And I raised my girls for a little bit. And then when I had my second girl, I actually quit and worked at home, just worked and took care of them.
What was the catalyst for you going fully into nutrition, helping others, and then writing your book, Cancer Hacks?
It was, my husband was diagnosed with cancer 11 years after I was diagnosed, and he did not make it. He passed away. He was diagnosed, and a year and a half after diagnosis, he passed away of fungal pneumonia. So that was rough. I was devastated, and here I was left with 2 girls, and I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with my life. And I also knew that, wow, what we were doing health-wise, mental, and also emotional and spiritual, the whole thing wasn't working for us. We really weren't grounded and together, and, in terms of all the body, mind, soul part, because we were always still chasing that dream of being successful and the things that weren't that important. So that's when I went in. I went back and got certified in integrative nutrition. And I didn't think I'd be sitting here or being a nutritionist or writing a book, but I just loved it so much that I started being able to help people, and just help them in little ways to get through their illnesses or their bouts of, sort of things that were happening in their life, and gave them a hope that they could get better and could heal it sort of became intoxicating for me.
So I hear you say the word hope. Would you say that is the quality that you are really helping people to ground and awaken within themselves?
Yes.
Is there anything else specific that drives you in your ability to help others get to a place of health?
Yes, because I know the body knows how to heal in every way. And I absolutely believe that from the bottom of my heart and soul. And if you give the body what it needs, nutrients, de-stressing, just simple things, even sleep and, hydration and just nutrients at a cellular level, the body can reset and regenerate and rejuvenate, and you can heal. So that's what drives me. I know that the modalities aren't that hard, and if someone really does want to make their life better and heal, I know I can help them.
So 10 years from now, where do you anticipate your ability to impact others to get to health, full health, and to be able to put disease into remission?
That's such a great question. I would say, to continue doing what I'm doing, I hope that I get to speak to larger groups of people and larger audiences, and as well as, just instrumenting these like simple practices, because I think the health and wellness space has become really complicated. It's all about these different diet modalities or restrictions, or you can't eat this or you can't eat that, or it's a certain supplement, or it's very, very confusing these days. And I feel like it's just getting more confusing because there's more out there that is offered to us. Especially the internet is really mind-boggling to dive into the internet and see what's happening. You are so confused. So I want to be able to to make it simple for people and make it attainable as much as I can.
And do you see yourself having any alignments with conventional medicine, with doctors, with hospitals, especially for patients who are, say, diagnosed with a stage 4 cancer? What do you envisage with that?
Absolutely. I have a lot of doctors that I work with now that I absolutely love, especially functional doctors, who are ones that are trained to really get to the root cause of health issues, or integrative doctors or naturopaths, or people who really know how to test and get to where, even what you do spiritually, emotionally, what is the root cause of this health issue and why it's happened. So I see myself going more that direction, aligning myself with people like yourself who really are brilliant at helping people find their spiritual path. Because I think that is crucial for health and wellness, as well as, helping kids or younger generation grow up and realize that they can be healthy throughout their life, and they don't have to think, oh my God, I'm gonna get cancer because my parents had cancer, or I'm gonna get diabetes because one of the parents had diabetes. We know that that's in our minds.
So to move beyond the idea that it's hereditary.
Right.
And who are 5 people that you would say are the wind beneath your wings?
Oh my goodness. I would say one of them is, there's a functional doctor that I absolutely love. There's a couple of them. Dr. Will Cole is somebody in Pittsburgh who's incredible. I also have one here, Dr. Lekos, who I interviewed for my show, who I absolutely love and has kept me like abreast on really what's going on in the functional world. Also, Brene Brown is someone that, of course, a lot of us emulate because just the way she speaks and the books that she writes, Dare to Lead, and that just came out. They're just really exceptional. I would say, definitely you're someone that I love because you do such great work. And I think it's really important to, have people like you around, because I think this area of expertise is really needed. And what else would I say? Such a hard one. Did you say 10?
I said 5. One more.
One more.
Someone that you don't know.
Right.
Well.
So I would probably say also Lewis Howes is someone I really admire, but I don't know him.
Yes, he's done great, doing great work too.
Exactly. bringing out the greatness in all of us.
So my last question to you is, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for really helping people heal their inner soul, and also their health, their soulfulness, their health, and that I'm making a difference in that direction.
And you are definitely doing that.
Thank you.
I'm Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories. Today, my guest was Elissa Goodman, author of Cancer Hacks. Thank you for watching. Tune in next time.